What is up, hotties? Welcome back to another episode of Stay Hot. I'm Blaiden Kirk, joined as always by my two favorite co-hosts of all time, Matthew Spawnhour and Theo Ash. And today, we're talking about NFL football. Can you believe it? Talking about some of the games that we missed last episode, recapping week 6 of the NFL season. We have to talk about some of the trades that went down. A couple big wide receivers got moved around. And then, of course, we will do the Stay Hot locks. This is actually the first episode in over a year that I am not editing, as we put out applications to hire a new editor, and we hired Manny to the Stay Hot crew. So shout out to Manny for doing the edits from now on. We're excited to have him. And Matt, Theo, beautiful Wednesday evening. Fall weather's upon us. How are you guys doing?
Shitty, man. I'm feeling an under the weather spell coming on, and also I walked out to the first time to like 50 something degrees. Terrible. Just awful.
I've been missing the 50-degree weather, to be honest. It's been like 80 every single day here in Denver, and I could use a crisp breeze. But it's been pretty good around here. I went to the bank today and I cleared them out of quarters because I need quarters to run my laundry machine. So I'll go down there and fill my pockets up with like 2 pounds worth of quarters and like walk home with my pants sagging down. Or in this case, take a Lime scooter home. Wow. I can't believe Lime scooters are like legal. Why? You just have them. They're posted all around the city. You can ride them at any time, no matter how inebriated you are. No helmets. Well,
you can't be drunk on a scooter.
Oh, you can. I mean, you definitely can be drunk on a scooter.
You can get pulled over for drunk driving on a scooter.
Sure, but how many people know that? I think that lifts.
How many people know that?
If you're drunk leaving a bar and there's like a Lyft scooter right in front of you, you're like, I'll take a Lyft. Not speaking from experience here, because the bars I go to are like 1 block from my house. But I definitely feel like there's a lot of drunk scootering that happens in every major city.
Maybe, but
I've got some friends who are nurses, and they say like every case that we see in hospitals is like COVID and Lyft scooters or something. Like those are the 2 killers. Those are the 2 pandemics right now, is COVID and scooters. But I did get on one to get some quarters.
Huh. I saw Matt's face as soon as Theo mentioned that he got quarters.
Yeah, I was once made fun of on this very podcast for saying that quarters were good. So I hope your shit doesn't.
I will
dry,
continue
buddy.
to make fun of it. I don't need quarters for anything. Yeah.
Okay.
Man. Yeah.
You don't need quarters at all.
No, I don't ever. I went on a walk today, and I didn't need quarters one time.
If I didn't need 6 quarters. Not even 6. If I didn't need 12 quarters every time I did laundry.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the machines that need quarters, sure.
Some have credit card, or apps.
Woke.
Yeah, I think I use my credit card for literally 100% of purchases.
I miss my credit card like all the time. I always lose it.
You don't lose quarters like that?
I don't lose quarters. Well, I don't lose my phone, so I use Apple Pay for all of my... And then I'm like, this isn't even real money. And then
but I have my credit card on Apple Pay, so it's the same card.
Yeah, that's true. It is just a credit card, but
I'm just like,
I use Apple Pay for everything. Physical cards, like I don't even have one on me a lot of the time, or cash.
Yeah, I mean, I hate cash. I hate cash so much. Every time my parents want money, though, they want cash. So I have to like go to the bank and withdraw cash.
Every time I have cash on me, it always just ends up going to homeless people who are always asking me for it. So it's like, I'll have some. And then like, they're like, do you have any cash? And it's like, I guess I do. So
see, I have the opposite problem. I never have cash. So homeless people ask me and I'm like, dude, I honestly wish I did.
Yeah, that's why that's what happens whenever I do have. Usually I don't, but in the instances that I do have cash, like it just instantly goes to like the homeless people of Denver.
You're goated for that.
It's a good day for them when I have cash on me, because like if I do and they ask, I'll be like, sure, man, you need it more than me.
That's fair. I don't know. I don't ever use cash. I don't ever use quarters. And I don't ever plan on it again unless my mom needs money. But let's talk about someone who also doesn't need cash, Davante Adams, because he is making plenty of money, and he just got traded from the Las Vegas Raiders to the New York Jets. I saw a tweet or I guess it wasn't. I saw a tweet that was promoting an ESPN article of saying that the most likely outcome was just going to be that he stayed with the Raiders, which was true. Like, that was probably the most likely outcome, but eventually, and the justification was that no one was really willing to give up a second-round pick and take on Adams' contract, given his age and given like the quality of receivers in the draft. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what I would think. But then I think after the Jets lost again, after firing Saleh, they were like, we have to do something to jumpstart this offense. And so Davante was the only move that they really could make. And so it being a third that could turn into a second, depending on production, I think is about decent value, considering they're also taking on the contract for it.
I don't think the Jets made this trade because they lost to the Bills. I think the framework for the trade was probably in the works before then. A lot of people are kind of negative about this trade. I think it's just a reflection of the Jets' record being 2-4 rather than the trade being bad. Davante Adams for what is essentially a third-round pick, or you win the trade and it's a second, is great value. And it makes me more excited to watch the Jets going forward with a team that's already all in, giving up late day two capital to get a real difference maker. I don't have a problem with it. I know things have been rough. I know 2-4 is ugly, but they've had 3 heartbreaking losses in a row. If they could kick better, they'd have a winning record. They're not that far off, and there's reason to believe that they could bounce back as the season goes on. So I'm all for them adding another weapon there, pairing it up with Wilson. They're a real team you got to go and game plan against now. That's a real duo that's going to be tough for anybody to handle. So it might not be their biggest need. It might not solve every problem that they have. But I think that's kind of a ridiculous standard to hold the move to. So I like it.
I will say it's probably going to be a net positive. Like, it's almost certainly going to be a net positive. But wouldn't it be really funny if, like, things got worse or, like, at best stayed the same? Wouldn't it be like they go like 6-11, 7-10, miss the playoffs? It's like never even a question. They're just like bad. I think that'd be kind of funny. They do all this stuff, fire Saleh, bring in Davante, just to continue to be horrible.
It's not impossible. We've seen stuff like that play out all the time.
Theo, these are your guys, in a way.
They are. I mean, we talked about it a little bit earlier, and I thought that a trade for Davante wouldn't be entirely necessary for the Jets, because I thought with more time, Rodgers and Wilson could kind of establish the connection that Davante had. I thought that Wilson had all the ability to get open that Davante had and has, and the catch radius and all these good things. It's just getting open at the time Rodgers wants him to be there. But I do think that the Mike Williams game on Monday night may have had something to do with the timing of the trade, because he's getting benched now, right? He's the one out of the lineup and now potentially on the trade block. And maybe if he comes down with that catch that ended up getting picked, like, he wouldn't have gotten demoted like that. I don't know. But it's obviously not a bad thing to get a player like Davante. I think Davante is still a weapon. Obviously, him and Rodgers have the connection that the Jets badly need right now. Maybe they have the same magic that they did. Like maybe like Rodgers and Davante are going to hit the field and hit the ground running, and all the some of the backside concepts, the fades, the slants, the digs. Adams is going to be right where Rodgers wants him to be, and you didn't forget any of that, and it's going to look great right away. I could totally see it. But I also think like there's just so much pressure on this move now and on the Jets in general. Like, is this trade going to work out? Like, what is the standard for the trade working out, I guess, is kind of where my mind went. Like, they're 2-4 right now. I think they're ready to win games, but they haven't won games. They're pouring money into this project. It's like a house that you buy, and then you realize it needs like way more repairs than you thought, and it just kind of becomes this money pit. Like that's what the Jets are right now. They're so expensive. It was supposed to be this great thing, but now like Tyron Smith is looking bad, and they've fired the head coach, and Mike Williams is now benched, and Hassan Reddick never showed up to camp. Like there's all these pipes bursting within this organization, and like you're throwing more and more problems to try to fix it. But it's like, I think at the end of the day, the problems are going to be greater than the solutions, even if Adams is great. But you still make the move, because if you're Joe Douglas, what do you care about a future 3rd round pick? You're not going to be making that 3rd round pick if you don't trade for Adams. So as far as desperation moves go, this is one that does have a chance of working. So I wouldn't say like I love the move. I think it's going to turn the Jets around, but I do understand the move. I think it's got a chance to work, and I think that they kind of need a Hail Mary.
They do. And Rodgers is the best at them,
Yeah.
So who better than him to take it? I do think that if any team was going to trade for Adams, the Jets are definitely the best one to do it. Just be like, we talk about, the Jets are already in this closing window. They need to make some sort of splash, a Hail Mary, Theo. But another team trading for him, like if I'm trying to think about who else was in consideration.
Ravens.
Steelers.
The Ravens, I think, could have made some sense, but the Steelers wouldn't have made any sense, because it's like they're so far out that Adams doesn't really fit their timeline, I feel like. Like the offense isn't good. Like the quarterback play isn't good. Like not really.
I don't know why Adams would want to go there. I don't think they're far out.
Well,
I mean,
he doesn't have
they're winning
enough. Like
games.
if the Steelers gave the best offer, the Raiders would have sent him there.
I think the Steelers can make some sense. I mean, they almost traded for Ayuk, right? And then Ayuk got cold feet at the last second. Like,
but how much younger is Ayuk than?
Yeah,
That's what I'm talking about when I say like fitting the window. It's like Adams is 32 right now. Right, so at some point, like by the time you get a quarterback, Adams is going to be what, like 34, and like then we're talking about like, oh man, he's really like getting out of his prime. For the Jets, it makes a lot of sense because he's like still good, and even though he's like on the later part of his career, it's like you can still get some juice out of him because like you have to be good now.
Yeah, it makes the most sense for the Jets to be all in immediately, definitely.
Yeah,
I don't think it wouldn't have made sense for the Steelers because, like, yeah, their quarterback is young, but is he if they go to Russell Wilson? And then, like, their defense is kind of the main driver of the season that they're having. But some of those players, aren't,
look at their
aren't going to be around
If he goes
forever.
to the Steelers, he's not playing. He's going to get 40% of snaps.
Davante. I think that Davante's a little bit more level-headed than George Pickens. I think that Davante wouldn't get his snaps slashed, but it doesn't matter if he could go to the Steelers or not. Like it didn't happen. It makes sense that the Jets got him, and I do think that this Jets team is ready to win some games. Like I said, Rodgers isn't washed. Like those first few weeks he was playing bad in most of the games, and people thought it was over for him, especially after the Vikings game. There's so much ability within his body, and his arm talent is still A+. And you saw the throws that he was hitting on Monday night. That one to Lazard that was on his like back hip, even though he was running into zone coverage, like that was unbelievable. Obviously, the Hail Mary Unk still got it. The dude bouncing on his butt like over the jump rope. You see that gif sometimes. That one was playing in my head when I was watching Rodgers on Monday night. So I think that there are some, as long as he's can play at that level and the defense is good, like there is something there for the Jets still. So I like that. But again, like going back to the Monday night game and what we talked about kind of did we talk about this last time?
We didn't talk about.
This is on a different pod. Yeah. But Saleh leaves, and we talked about it in the group chat. The Jets defense is good, right? That is something that we make the assumption of. But then on Monday night, I didn't think it looked so great, you know? And I thought the firing of Saleh just made less sense to me after this week because they're starting to figure out some stuff on offense. They make the trade for Davante, like Rodgers looks a little bit better, Wilson looks a little bit better. Like, okay, they changed the play caller, offense takes an uptick, but now all of a sudden it just feels like you have less competency on the defensive side of the ball, and like you fired Saleh the week before the offense figured it out, and I don't think Saleh has anything to do with the offense figuring it out. Like it just felt extra premature now that I've watched a game.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people justify it by saying, well, they're the most penalized team in football, and he just doesn't have the culture right, and they're not disciplined enough because of him. Dude, I mean, this game had, 22 total penalties? Something just totally ridiculous?
The culture didn't necessarily look a lot better, did it?
No, so I completely agree, and it never really made sense to me to fire Saleh, given the clear problems with this team, and I think that just got more comfort. But maybe it's too small a sample size. But I think it was you, Matt, that said, if you maybe it was Theo, I don't know. One of you said that even if you were to fire Saleh at the end of the year, at least then you can say, well, we missed the playoffs or we didn't have the results that we expected, so we can justify it in that sense. But now, like, let's say again, they end up missing the playoffs. Well, now you fired him anyway, and you don't really have much of an answer as to like where to go from there. If that I don't know.
Yeah, I just don't get it. They played a lot more man than I'm used to seeing from the Jets in the game against the Bills. Like it felt like that was kind of their new identity a little bit, was like, oh, let these corners line up and play. They played 28 snaps of man coverage. That's the second most since 2022, which I think is notable for them. And it just wasn't a good strategy against Josh Allen. The ball hardly hit the ground all night. He killed them on scrambles. On that touchdown to Matt Collins, there's like 2 spies on him and like man across the board, and they get, their backup safety gets beat in the slot. Just didn't really feel like a good game plan against Josh Allen. And for them to fire Saleh and the game plan to immediately not make sense and get torched the day the offense figures it out, just killed me to watch. It's like I just feel like Saleh would. You're going to win a Super Bowl with an interim, that's really the plan here. That's fine, I guess. And I get that Jets fans thought the culture was bad, but like you said, Blaiden did not look any better.
No, it didn't.
The reffing was unbelievable, though. Like, to be fair, that was wild.
Blaming the refs. All right, Theo.
Yeah, I came up with a new take while watching that, particularly the Rodgers roughing the passer penalty. There is no reason why roughing the passer should be 15 yards. It's way too many. I think, obviously, at this point, way too many. Why is roughing the passer like the single biggest penalty in the game when it is constantly one of the lightest and most like non-actual outcome affecting penalties that we have? Why? How many drives go like third down, big sack, you grazed his helmet with your fingertip, 20-yard swing, and it's first down now? It's insane, dude. It would make more sense to be a 5-yard penalty and not an automatic first. Maybe you have 2 versions of it like the NBA does with flagrants, or like the NFL does with running in and roughing the punter. But honestly, I feel like a lot of the time, if it's light roughing, offense gets the chance to replay the down. something as light as that makes way more sense. Still a motivator not to hit, super hard, because defensive guys want their sacks to count. They don't want to get penalized for that stuff. But when you try to regulate it so much where it's just obviously unavoidable sometimes that you're going to make that mistake, there's nothing that you can do outside of just like not tackle guys. It just seems unfair to make that such a big swing.
Yeah, certainly a lot was unfair about those calls. I agree with you. Anything to get those calls out of games, I'm down for, because the amount of them that actually seem valid to me, it's like 10% of the time. I thought maybe the Kinlaw one, there was a bit of an extra throw that was unnecessary, but the Epinesa one, like I really don't know what else you want Epinesa to do. There maybe is a little bit of an extra push, but
he braced himself because it was like he landed on top. It's like
right. He tried to just finish the play, right? Get down. And there was a call on Spencer Brown where he like pancaked somebody and then like dove on top of him. That's a penalty now, I guess. It's like, this is, I guess those refs thought they were NBA refs, and it's like, you can play, but you can't do any extra physicality. And if you I was expecting a pass to get batted and maybe a shooting foul gets called, like he hit his hand on that. And then the fumble too, like I thought Rodgers didn't release it and was bringing it kind of back to his body, and that's what Sean McDermott wanted to know. But then they said like, oh, it was an incomplete pass because his arm was going forward. But it's like, yeah, his arm was going forward, but he didn't throw it, So what does that mean? If your arm goes forward, you don't throw it and then you drop it. I think that's a fumble. And the DJ Reed PI was bad. There were so many of them. Like, it certainly wasn't a disciplined performance. There were plenty of penalties that should have been called, but on top of all those, like all the ones that were just garbage, unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What is up, hotties? This episode is brought to you by Manscaped, the global leader in men's lifestyle and grooming. Every man knows the unbeatable feeling of a fresh barbershop shave. Now, what if I told you that you no longer have to wait weeks or months between appointments to experience it? Introducing Manscaped's newest innovation, the Chairman Pro Electric Foil Shaver, the game-changing tool that brings the luxury of a professional shave right into your home. Whether you're after that daily, silky smooth finish or prefer to maintain a rugged 5 o'clock shadow, the Chairman Pro is your go-to for precision and style every time. So what makes the Chairman Pro stand out? First, it comes with 2 interchangeable skin-safe blade heads. You have the 4-blade foil for a close, smooth shave when you want to go completely clean, and if a clean shave isn't your thing, you can switch to the stubble trimmer and keep your stubble sharp and polished. Another standout feature of the Chairman Pro is waterproof, so that means you can shave right in the shower, and cleanup is super easy with a quick rinse under the sink. So get the Chairman Pro today and experience a shave that's as smooth as you deserve. Use the code STAYHOT for 20% off plus free shipping. Again, that's STAYHOT for 20% off plus free shipping at manscaped.com. What is up, hotties? You know that when it comes to NFL football, Stay Hot has you covered. But who do you turn to when you need to make smart financial decisions? If your answer is our sponsor, NerdWallet, then you're absolutely right. And if it's not, then allow me to change your mind. Because not only have they spent thousands of hours researching and reviewing over 1,300 financial products, but they have the tools you need to make smarter financial decisions. Looking for a credit card? Go beyond the basic comparisons. Filter for features that matter to you and read in-depth reviews. Ready to choose a high-yield savings account? Get access to exclusive deals and compare rates, bonuses, and more. House hunting? View today's top mortgage rates for your new home sweet home. So while Stay Hot is your go-to resource for NFL football, make the Nerds your go-to resource for smart financial decisions. Head to nerdwallet.com/learn more. NerdWallet. Finance smarter. Disclaimer, NerdWallet Compare Inc. NMLS 1617539. But the Bills also traded for a wide receiver. While we're on the topic of this game and these teams, the Bills traded for Amari Cooper from the Cleveland Browns. And on the bright side of this for Cleveland, they did make a profit on Amari Cooper. They traded a fifth for him. They got a third back. That's a win.
That is great GMing, Andrew Berry. You did it.
Incredible Andrew Berry moment there.
I mean, it was a good trade for them from the Cowboys' perspective, and I don't think that it's bad that they're sellers. I mean, they're 1-5. That's fine for them, I guess. Plus, Amari Cooper hasn't exactly been locked in for them this season, I would say.
I've seen a lot more people be like, maybe Amari Cooper was selling on purpose to get traded.
I have my doubts that he was going as far to do that, but I do believe he wasn't bought in anymore. And I think this trade is good for Cleveland in the sense that they suck anyway. Their passing offense is disastrously bad. If you have a receiver you can get a third for, who obviously, like, if we're being realistic, like, this team isn't going to be good anytime soon, unfortunately. Like, they blew it. Get a third round pick. I think they're in total start thinking about the future mode. I know it's 6 games into the season, but it would take the craziest turnaround of all time. And their cap situation is disastrously bad. They can't afford guys. So to get off of contracts is probably what you're going to have to do if you're them, unless you want to restructure into oblivion. But the problem with restructuring is it means you have to keep the players who's on your team right now. And that's really not good if you're Cleveland and you're 1-5. For Buffalo, I said before, though, they needed a receiver. I think Cooper, still got it as more of a one-on-one winner than anybody that the Bills have right now. I appreciate them realizing that even though they tried to invest this offseason in receiver, that they just don't have anybody who is playing like a top guy on a playoff team. I thought that at some point that was going to come back to bite them. Now I have hope that it might not, and that they could go on more of a playoff run. They've looked really good. I like them being buyers.
Yeah. Their leading receiver in their win against the Jets was Ray Davis. 3 catches, 55 yards.
Yeah, I like Keon Coleman as much as the next guy, but some of the like moments from Coleman, like when he wasn't looking for the slant route and he got hit in the head with the ball, and they hit him on a big shot against the blitz and he dropped it, and he just hasn't really been wide receiver 1 material, best weapon, and neither has Dalton Kincaid. So to get Amari Cooper, trading for Amari Cooper has never been a bad move. The Cowboys did it in the middle of 2018 and it turned their season around. The Browns did it a couple years ago in 2022, and it was great for them as well. So now the Bills are trying to see if the third time's also a charm, and I think it really could be. I know that he has had his career worst season, but something about Deshaun Watson, man, like David Njoku was having a bad year, and then Flacco comes in and he looks like a top 5 tight end, and then it's Watson again and he's completely silent. And like Amari Cooper, I feel like it could happen to him too. And some of the plays I saw in the Eagles game, which we'll talk about here in maybe a few minutes, but like he put a great route on Quinion Mitchell and like hitched up and he was open, and then like Watson sailed it 10 yards over his head, and his body language was so funny. Like he just looked at the sideline and like shrugged, like, what am I supposed to do? Like it went over my head and I don't know what the sideline's supposed to say back. So yeah, I think he can still get open. Obviously there's a chance that this funk kind of continues, but man, I really think like getting away from Watson and going to Josh Allen combined with the season he had last year makes me think that this could be extremely impactful, maybe even more impactful than the Adams trade, considering like Adams has been dealing with a hamstring injury and they're got to sort out like him and Wilson and the workload, and it doesn't. I think this Amari Cooper deal is going to be really good for the Bills, but we'll see.
Yeah, I agree about the Adams hamstring. I do think the workload's going to be fine between Wilson and Adams. Rodgers has been throwing to Wilson. He's on pace for like 190 targets. I know he had a 23 target game outlier, but even then, like he's throwing to Wilson. He's trying.
No, I don't think that throwing to Wilson is the problem. Like the 22 target outlier is a good example of what I'm talking about. Like he had 11 catches for 100-something yards and a touchdown in that game. Like the box score looks great. he's getting all these targets, but like what happened to the 11 targets that hit the ground? I feel like they really need to be humming for them to win the Super Bowl, like there has to be a very distinct identity. There has to be a couple concepts where we can all sit here and say like, oh, when Wilson runs this, he's open every time, and Rodgers has hit him twice a game for first downs, like in every game this year. And there's no route, there's no concept, there's nothing that they just go back to over and over again and hit. Like there was with Adams back in the day. And I think that's what they need to develop. Even with Adams, I still think they need to find those things. So that's what I mean. Not that he's not throwing to him or that he's being ignored. It's just like what is consistently working, because it's still been inconsistent.
Fair enough. Yeah. So I like both of these trades pretty well. I don't know if the team that got the good player won, yippee, is the craziest take ever, but I like the Jets being aggressive because their backs are against the wall, and I like the Bills being aggressive because they're honestly having a better season than I thought they would, and they look more competitive than I thought. And whereas like with the Jets, you're kind of like, I don't know if a wide receiver fixes anything. With the Bills, you're like, the wide receiver might fix like their biggest problem, and they might be really good if they can get that down, and they could beat anybody. So I'm excited to see it. What other games did we want to talk about?
I think we wanted to talk a little bit about the Thursday night game, if we want to, because we never really got to have that conversation following the.
Yeah.
We haven't really talked about the Seahawks a lot this year at all.
I've talked about them on TikTok a lot, but on the podcast, no.
Right.
We've talked about them a decent amount.
We've been ignoring. I don't know. Theo and I were big on the Seahawks this offseason, and they're 3-3 right now, coming off a pretty rough loss to San Francisco. And I don't know, Theo, what do you think at this point is kind of the most? We'll say, what is something that's given you the most optimism, and what's the thing that's most disappointing?
Well, the thing that has given me the most optimism is the play of Geno Smith overall this year, but obviously he did not have a very great Thursday night performance. But at 3-3, there's a lot more to be concerned about than optimistic about.
Yeah.
With the Seahawks. This coaching staff has not breathed new life into everything like I thought. The offensive line is like Charles Cross has come back, and I thought he's played very well. And that's kind of what I was looking for. They didn't even get that last year. But he's the only one. I was hoping like maybe two or three guys. I guess Connor Williams, Lucas the big center in the middle, hasn't been so bad. But both of the guards, so horrible. Stone Forsythe on the right side. He just plays so upright, and his hands are so wide. It's just not a good combination. He just is getting torched left and right. I think Nick Bosa was charted with 14 pressures on Thursday night. Obviously not good. Couldn't really get the run game going as well as good as I think K9 is. And then the defense has been so disappointing as well. I mean, they let Jordan Brooks and Bobby Wagner walk, and I thought one of those was a good decision and one was not. The Seahawks nightmare matchup is the San Francisco 49ers. They just have no semblance of defense in the middle of the field. The safeties, anybody playing the hook zones, the linebackers, the safeties. I don't think McDonald has been dropping quite as many defensive linemen as he did back in Baltimore, but I guess I should check the numbers on that. But there's just not a lot of discipline on the back end, not a lot of people who look like they know where they have to be. Just rough, and they allowed Goff to go 18 for 18 on them. And then, of course, Purdy's able to do a similar thing because people are just getting out towards the sideline on play action. They're not defending between the hashes, and they're just getting killed on these in-breakers left and right this season. So it didn't really surprise me that the 49ers were able to kind of pick them apart, because that's their big weakness.
I know one thing we were really excited about was kind of how good their defensive line looked. But similar to the Colts, the rest of the defense just hasn't been up to par. And you talk about they got rid of Jordan Brooks. dude, they got rid of like their entire middle of the field. Everything in between the hashes is gone. They got rid of their safeties and Jordan Brooks. So it's just, yeah, it has been a very disappointing defense. And you're right. The game against Detroit, this one, they had another really awful defensive performance that I'm failing to remember at this moment. Dude, the Giants. Daniel Jones against this defense went 23 for 34, 257 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And no picks. And Tyron Tracy ran for 130.
And they pretty much copied the Lions' game plan. They looked at that and they said, all right, we'll run duo and we'll run more play action than we had all year. And guess what? And guess what killed them? They got killed on duo, downhill runs, and they got killed off play action. They allowed 2 touchdowns off of it and a bunch of other big plays. So there's a formula to beat the Seahawks. And even teams that you don't think of as like your big downhill running, play action off of it, your Shanahan tree teams, like they're looking at that and they're saying, well, we'll add that to our game plan this week. And the Seahawks have yet to stop it. Now, maybe as the year goes on, they can like lock in like things like just lining up in the wrong place and, dropping to the wrong spot and blown coverages on the back end. Like those things can get better with time, but it's been 6 weeks now and just none of it has gotten any better.
Yeah, I agree. They got off to such a hot start, and we pointed it out after 3 weeks and they started 3-0. It might be the last time that we talked about the Seahawks. That as the schedule's gotten a little bit harder and as they've played tougher offenses, they haven't been able to hold up. I don't know if they have one guy who is really a game wrecker. I think that's part of it. And while they have a decent number of names, and like Witherspoon is great, and Williams has had a good year, I agree across the board. I think they're still a year away. And then the offensive line not stepping up. It was big expectations for them to take a leap when a lot of that was coming from, hoping for internal development, So I think you've seen some of it. They still strike me as a team that has a lot of pieces, and I understand why we look here and we say, man, if they could just figure it out,
Mm-hmm.
If they could just get right. Like, they're not that far away. Gino's good. The receivers are good. You've got a couple of offensive linemen who are playing pretty strong. I agree about Cross. Ken Walker's had a great year, certainly. I totally see it. But at the same time, they also strike me as a team where there's not a game record on defense, so it's never going to be easy. It's never going to be like you have one guy who goes out there and just like wrecks shop in 5 of your games, and you just center everything around that. And then on offense, if the offensive line's like this, even with Ken Walker, the run game is going to be horrifically inconsistent. And then even if Gino is playing great, it's got to be hero ball from him for 50 throws a game. And that's, of course, going to lead to some multiple interception games against good defenses. That's going to happen. So I think you've got to either see more consistency along the offensive line or I think some difference makers on the defense really step up if they're going to be a team that isn't just going to get good work done against maybe a little bit lower status teams.
Yeah, and Byron Murphy has missed the last 3 weeks, and he started the first 3 weeks, and they went 3-0 in the first 3 weeks and 0-3 in the second 3 weeks. So
Byron Murphy is the MVP of the league, and
I do think he's leading rookie defensive tackles in.
That's very true. That's very true. And getting Murphy back would absolutely be huge, 100%. And he was balling. Like I don't want to be as much as we joked about it.
Yeah,
I don't want to joke about it. Again. I don't want to joke about it, too much. That we were talking about before the offseason. Like I totally see. I don't think they're that far off, but I don't know if like this is their year necessarily to do something really, really crazy. Even if they have a lot of pieces, it's not impossible. They continue to build as the season goes on. But I have my questions.
Yeah, there's.
As far as go ahead.
They've got a lot of problems right now. That's all.
Yeah. As far as the 49ers go, I think you have to feel pretty freaking good, man. They have a lot of guys banged up, injured. No Hufanga, no Greenlaw, no McCaffrey. The receivers up until this point have not been performing that well, and they put up 36. I mean, they looked absolutely stunning in this game. And so I think we put them in tier 1 for NFC teams. It's hard to imagine, they get McCaffrey back in time for the playoffs. You get some other guys back on defense. Like, this team looks outstanding. And it's probably them in Detroit.
Yes.
You see at the top.
Yeah, they had a good game. Like I said, this is the perfect defense for them to go against. Like, Goff goes 18. Purdy was zipping a couple of those in breakers. Like, by Jenkins' head, he had a no-looker when he looked to the flat and then threw an in-breaker. And he reminds me of Caleb Williams, the way he's playing right now at USC, though. Like, the amount of times this year that he has, turned his back to the defense and held it for 10 seconds is... I mean, it's been he's holding it at an unprecedented rate. Like, through 6 weeks, no one has held it longer than him this year, which is just a complete departure of what kind of we think of with Purdy when we think of him getting the ball out on time and doing all that and, hitting those in-breakers constantly. Like, he really is scrambling, making people miss, making some big plays with his legs. And, I think he deserves a lot of credit for it. I really do. I do think that with Purdy, holding it for that long does come with some downsides. I think that there is some thought that, last year Purdy was getting it done in structure. This year he's running around. Therefore, he has now completed the quarterback puzzle. He's shown that he can do both things at a really high level, and he's not a game manager anymore. Clearly, he's an out of structure creator, and now that he's done both, he's ascended to elite status. He's playing the best football of his career. I think that's the general consensus on Purdy right now. I am still a little bit I would like to see less of him running around, I feel like, this year. I do think going into this game, he was very much to blame for the red zone struggles. But he is a good player. He is keeping the offense afloat with some of these scrambles while McCaffrey is gone. But I still think, this offense without McCaffrey, it's still something I'm a lot more concerned about this year than last year. I think that this version of the 49ers is not as scary as last year's version. I know that they just licked the Seahawks, but I'm still waiting for a real, not a real dominant performance, because that one could be considered a real dominant performance maybe, but I don't know.
They look dominant without McCaffrey, and I'm like, if they had McCaffrey, dude, they would have put up 70.
Yeah, they would have. We'll see what they do against the Chiefs this week. But I guess my prediction is, and it's such a big game, and if they beat the Chiefs, I'll give them all their flowers, because obviously the Chiefs are a very strong team, a great defense, a lot better to the middle of the field than against these kinds of concepts than the Seahawks are. So if Purdy rolls in and performs really well against Kansas City, that's the kind of game I'm waiting for and looking for. But he played well against the Seahawks. I'm hemming and hawing and being I don't know if I want to give him he did play great against the Seahawks, but before that, I did think he was kind of part of the reason they were 2-3 because of just missed open reads in the red zone.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, let's move on to.
Well, unless Matt, I heard you sharply inhale there for a second.
I have faith that he can rein it in the appropriate amount. I like that he's been a gamer this year. I've enjoyed watching that. And I feel like a lot of development can be adding a new aspect to your game and then fine-tuning it to the amount that you want to use it. And with the 49ers team that I feel like is really good at sort of staying on pace and attacking defenses on the ground, the more creative stuff and the more, trying to hit big stuff, especially on top of the fact that Purdy's really willing to run. So if something's not there, he's willing to get out and just take what can be given. I think it balances how aggressive the offense is really, really well. Now, if you get in the red zone and you're missing easy reads because you want to run around too much, of course, that's bad because then you don't score. But it's a good thing. And the 49ers are 3-3 with being 0-3 in the one-score games they've played. Not to say that I'm not as one-score pilled as possible, but certainly I do think in the NFL that counts for something. And I think they're record-wise going to bounce back, even if they move to 3-4 after playing a really tough Chiefs team, which is potentially, could be the case for them.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, to some extent, he's needed to scramble because without McCaffrey, you can really lock in on the crossers and the in-breakers. And you're not really worried about that check down threat. I thought the Vikings did a nice job, like kind of ignoring the running back, honestly, sometimes, and like really looking at the middle of the field, and Purdy just wasn't down to throw a check down to Jordan Mason or something like that. And with kind of this, and then against the Patriots, he mentioned how the Patriots anticipated their routes and were able to leverage these crossers. Like in that game specifically, obviously he needed to scramble. You don't want to throw a crosser into double coverage, even if that's the hit of the offense. So he has needed to scramble more this year without McCaffrey. So yes, it is good to see him do all of that. But I will say, people remember when he scrambles and he hits a big play and he, it's awesome when he does that. He turns around and hits a trick shot. But I think people aren't remembering all the times where he does it and it results in a throwaway or a sack or something like that. And when I look at some of the out of structure numbers this year and like how he has done off scrambles, I don't think the numbers are quite as great there as everybody thinks. I think he's still at his best standing in the pocket, ripping the in breakers. Like you want to be doing that as much as possible if you're the San Francisco 49ers, rather than all the scrambling. But it is more needed this year than in previous years. I'm just interested to see how that formula looks against Kansas City.
I think
we don't care about the efficiency, bro. We want to see him run around all over like an ant.
Yards out of pocket per throw. How about 3.83 for Brock Purdy? Yards per throw outside of the pocket.
Got that.
Number one, Jordan Love, 10.45, by the way. Fake athletes when a real.
I'm pulling up the win percentage Malik Willis versus Jordan Love comparison immediately. That's the only stat I care about.
Oh no.
Brock Purdy is first still yards from the pocket though, which is kind of why I say these things. 9 yards per attempt throwing from the pocket. So again, like you want to hit these days, these in breakers to Ayuk and stuff, and throw in rhythm in this Shanahan offense. So, and it's not all on Purdy. Like the Purdy stuff has just blown up. Like part of it is maybe a Shanahan off, like just inherent to the Shanahan offense, like type stuff. It's not, and the rest of the offensive line outside of Trent Williams obviously isn't like fantastic. So yeah, it's Purdy's playing like fine this year. I don't think he's playing bad. I just don't think he's playing his best football, and I think he's part of the issue in the red zone. That's really all it is.
Brock Purdy is first in the NFL in time to throw at 3.35 seconds.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. He's holding it so long.
He's tied for third in scrambles with 19. But he only has 12 sacks.
Yeah, he's shifty, man. He escapes backwards. He's made juke some people out of their shoes. And when I talk about yards out of pocket, those are throws. So that doesn't count all the times where he's held the ball and taken off and scrambled for some big first downs, which he's done a lot of this year. He has not scrambled. He's not like prime Mahomes, like scrambling and throwing across his body to like Tyreek Hill 50 yards down the field. He's not that type of guy. But the quickness and the ability to move the ball with his legs and move the chains like has definitely come up for them huge.
Like you look at some of the other guys at the top of the scrambles. Jaden Daniels, 32. He has 15 sacks, which, I mean, for 32 scrambles, not bad. Deshaun Watson, 21 scrambles, 31 sacks.
Yeah.
Fields, 19 scrambles, 15 sacks. For Purdy to be at 12.
How many sacks does Jordan Love have this year, Blaiden? Any?
Jordan Love has... Oh, man. And he's not even on the list. He doesn't get sacked ever. No, I have not. I'm trying to...
I just know he's first in pressure to sack rate this year, and he's first in overall sack rate as well.
Jordan Love's been sacked 4 times.
Pretty good.
That is pretty good.
I'm taking Jordan Love over Brock
He's only
Purdy.
played 4 games, though. So.
I'm not
We're not even going to do... That's not even a
Purdy.
debate. I'm just...
He is first in
from the
pressure to
hip.
sack rate, though. You are right there. He's the only one in single-digit pressure to sack rate.
Interesting. Now to get
noticing.
the completion percentage above 60%, then we're...
His adjusted.
Dude, I used to be.
He's doing a great job. Like, this is legitimately... This sounds like a joke, but it's true. Jordan Love this year, he's moving around the pocket so beautifully, and then he throws, and it like skips off the ground in front of Dontavion Wicks. I'm like, well, he didn't take a sack.
I mean, I feel you on that as a Panthers fan who grew up with Cam Newton, bro. I used to be stressing about this 60% completion mark, man, because they just nuked it or Cam would run all the time. So like, and also he missed some like crazy ones when he was really firing it. So he'd like throw it away and be like, God damn it, dude. That was 13. It sucked.
Do you know who the top 2 quarterbacks are in first downs thrown this year?
Yes, but I won't say.
I'm guessing it's probably Geno because he had that one game where he picked up like the most first downs in history.
Geno's number 1. He has 95.
And then maybe Stroud?
Stroud's 4th. Purdy is 2nd.
Yeah.
88.
Not bad. And
Baker is 3rd at 87.
And Brock Purdy and Baker are 12th and 13th in total attempts as well. So it's good efficiency.
Yeah. That is really good efficiency. Look at that. Scrambling and efficient, man.
Yeah, you can't find... Like, he's having a good year. I just don't think... I don't know. We'll see how the Chiefs game goes.
I was a notorious Brock Purdy hater, man. If I can come around, so can you. It's okay.
I can. I mean, I can't come around. It just they got to put these balls in the end zone, man. They're just not the same level of offense they were last year. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. You've had Wendy's nugs dipped in sauce, but have you had them covered in sauce? Wendy's new saucy nugs take the crispy and spicy nugs you love and turn them up to 11. Choose between flavors like buffalo, honey barbecue, garlic parm, or if you're really a heat seeker, try spicy ghost pepper, only on Wendy's signature spicy nugs. I dare ya. That's 7 delicious ways to try the nugs you already love. Pick a flavor, grab some extra napkins, and prepare to nug like you've never nugged before. For a whole new way to nug, it's gotta be Wendy's at participating U.S. Wendy's locations. Well, we were talking about Jordan Love. Do you want to move on to the Green Bay Packers? We didn't talk about them too much on the last episode.
I don't have too much to say about them.
Do you want to talk more about the Cardinals then? That might be a more interesting discussion.
I don't have too much to say about the Cardinals either, but I will say this about the Packers. They're benching Eric Stokes, which is the right move. He's been the weak link of the secondary. It's cool to watch the secondary kind of come together, and they had so many pieces on the back end. It's like, where does everybody fit? And it looks like right now they're going with Williams and Xavier McKinney on the back end, and Nixon and Jair out on the outside, and then they're going big nickel with Bullard in the slot. I might go Williams X up top, Nixon in the slot, Carrington, Valentine, and Jair on the outside. Like, if you would have asked me, that's probably what I would have said. We'll see, though. I'm glad Stokes is out of there, though. He was not having a very good season.
Here's some numbers for the Cardinals offense from their game against Green Bay. 16 first downs compared to the Packers' 27. 55 plays compared to the Packers' 70. Yards per play, 5.5 compared to the Packers' 6.2. 3.9 yards per attempt on the ground, 13 penalties.
The penalties were the huge thing in this game. They were the least penalized team in the league going into it, and then they played that game against the Packers and just were picking them up left and right, and they fell behind the sticks, or they fell behind the scoreboard, so they couldn't lean on James Conner, and he didn't have a very productive game. Really, just based on the game flow. It's not like Conner was doing anything wrong. He did slip when he had blockers out in front of him, I guess, which was not ideal. But they just have no pass rush, man. It's the same story every week. Like, Jordan Love is chilling back there all day to throw, and like no one closes in on him even a little bit. So until they fix that problem, like, they're not going to be a very good team. And that's really all I got to say about the Cardinals. Like, they're just a dog shit pass rush.
I agree.
Yeah. This isn't the first game where they've had like a really rough offensive performance, though, either. Like 13 points this week against
I don't know what happened to Marv.
Points against the Commanders, 13 points against the Lions. Like, they're capable of good offensive performances. We've seen that, but it's just like every once in a while they just tend to just go completely flat.
I think they do lean on the run game a little bit too much, especially on early downs. They, like, on first and second down, they're just kind of plowing it into loaded boxes really unsuccessfully. Their early down success rate on runs is 33%. Just not a very good number to be at. Like, the Jaguars are at 38%. What are some other bad? The Titans are at 33%. The Jets are at 34%. So for the Cardinals to have that kind of low success rate running on early downs is kind of shocking, because they've got a good running back. They've got Kyler Murray, right? They're explosive running the ball, but I just feel like on first and second down, Petzing is just a bit too hammer-headed, or just too run-minded. Just if the defense is giving you single high and loading the box, like, go somewhere else, because I feel like that's been a big problem for them this year. And then Kyler has been inconsistent. Like the Washington game, he just played like shit, right? Like,
yeah.
Some games he's been great, some games he's been mid.
Yeah, I completely agree about the Kyler consistency.
Yep.
I don't have much to say about Packers Cardinals either. We could talk about Chargers Broncos.
I was about to say Chargers Broncos would be next then to hit on. Listen, we were talking about how the Broncos might be kind of good. Their defense looks great, and then all of a sudden they don't have Pat Surtain, and everything is the worst ever. And the Chargers went up 20-0 in this game, and just kind of cruised on that for the rest of it.
Did you see Harbaugh leave the sidelines early with like heart flutters?
Yeah, I did see that.
Not see that.
I thought maybe the cops got him.
You know, I look at this game as like, this is kind of the nature of a Broncos type of team, though, no? Mm-hmm. Right? I mean, yeah, their defense is great. Mm-hmm. But they have a couple of turnovers that lead to points early. And their offense is going to have some games against the Chargers defense that's been really good where it's going to struggle. They don't have humongous playmakers. Bo Nix is inconsistent. And I think importantly, their run game really doesn't move me. Their offensive line is just no guarantee to generate major push, it feels like, even when they try to get big and strong. And like, their backs I really dislike. Williams has played very poorly. And I mean, in this game, they basically entirely decided to stop running the ball. Probably because they got down 20-0, but still.
Yeah.
Their success was just poor with it. Nix, I thought, was at least a little bit better in this game, like kind of getting around the field on a few plays. So, I mean, that was good, but it wasn't a like humongous major success. I mean, he had an early interception trying to throw over the middle that was honestly tough for me to judge how much was on him and how much was on the receiver. it was sort of like a half drop, half like, yeah, he probably could have caught it, but then it bounces up and off and gets intercepted. So take that for what you will. But I don't know. This is what
I was just gonna say. Javonte Williams hasn't really been good since his rookie year.
No, Javonte had a good game last week, but I think for the most part, I haven't been moved. Like, and there's a lot of plays where he's a big guy who wants to go east-west a little bit too much, and like he really does not have the juice to pull that off.
That way, man. It breaks my
I don't know.
He used to be such a bruiser, but I guess you get hurt twice and miss a lot of time, and all of a sudden it's changes your game style. But yeah, last year 3.6 yards per carry. So far this year, same story. But yeah, you're right, Matt. He's like completely changed his running style. It's tragic.
Yeah, it's weak. And I mean, they've tried all sorts of stuff. Estime doesn't really get in the game that much, which is disappointing. I think he only had a couple of carries. Mm-hmm. They tried, for the life of me, I can't remember what the back who like got injured almost immediately.
Batty?
Yeah, Batty or Bad. It's pronounced one of the two. I remember seeing something about it, but I like don't remember which way it was that it actually ended up being. So, but he got beat up like instantly. So they're one of the teams out there where I feel like running back talent really does affect them. I do. So it's just the lack of big hitters there, and Bo Nix's inconsistency, and the offensive line isn't really dominant. So there's a lot of ways to make this team either one-dimensional or force them into a lot of mistakes. So even though their defense is really good, and that is something to be positive about, because if you had told us like at the start of the season, I'll be honest, if you had told me that the Broncos are going to be like a bottom 5 team, I would have been like, okay, right, like that's not that crazy at all. And they're not that. They're a team that has a lot to build on, even if we don't agree necessarily with their quarterback decision this offseason just yet. But when we talk about a team that it's like, yeah, they're going to be feisty, they're going to maybe sneak into the playoffs, but they have a low ceiling because their offense, like this is what games are going to look like sometimes. And then sometimes like they're going to get the breaks at the start of the game and they're going to be in control throughout they'll have the Buccaneers game or whatever, where they can hit some big plays quick and then sort of coast for the rest of the game and let the defense do the work. This was the opposite, and it sucked.
Mm-hmm. I thought that pass, that interception was kind of a big overthrow from Nix on a dig. The wide receiver, I thought, did a good job holding his line and almost kind of working back towards Nix. And then when the ball was thrown, he kind of had to drift upfield and jump, and then it bounced off his outstretched hand and went into the hands of the safety. I thought it was just an overthrow from Nix from a clean pocket. And how do you begin this game? Like, he was, 2 for 20? I can't remember the exact stats. Even the first half was pretty much as bad as it gets, I believe.
I mean, their first half possessions went interception, punt, fumble, punt, coming out of halftime, punt. Then they finally got some touchdowns on the board. But yeah, they didn't have a single possession that was even like remotely competent.
He had a 0 passer rating in the first half, and his time to throw was over 4 seconds. Like he was pushing it past the sticks on most of these throws. Like, he was just catching the ball and like holding it, not making a throw. And then when he did make a throw, it could have been an overthrow. He was trying to scramble a lot. I don't know. It's bad when your air yards per attempt is over 10, but in the half you have 22 total passing yards. That's not what you're looking for. Right. So just tons of incompletions, like really scattershot down the field. Like he did better in the second half for sure, but it was too little, too late. And I think overall this season he's been the most disappointing rookie by a lot. Like, right, like he's not even close to the level that Caleb is at, or Jaden, or like even May in his debut. I don't think Nix has had a game like that. So They just didn't scam anyone, man. Like, they didn't get the Vikings. They shouldn't have made that pick. They should have done what the Raiders did and taken the best player available and rolled with, what's his name?
Stidham. Latu.
Yeah. Latu or anybody. I guess they don't need the defensive help, but
I mean, and that's the thing. It's like with all of these guys who I can't help but be like, yeah, if they had been like Stidham is our young guy or like our project we've been working on for a little while. I don't know how young he is at this point. And then like we were gonna go sign like Joe Flacco, and that's gonna be the quarterback plan because it's just not happening, and we're gonna go get Brock Bowers. It'd be like, damn, you'd feel in a lot better spot, right?
Right.
Because you'd have the 1 year on Stidham, and you'd say, okay, if that doesn't work, we can save the season, hopefully, with a vet who can keep us afloat and let us be this low ceiling team. And then we still added a really talented player. Obviously, like the story isn't over on Knicks. But I just haven't been crazy excited about him yet.
No, and just when the draft pick happened, everybody was shocked, right? Like, he was a second-round talent. Everybody agreed, I thought. And then they make the pick, and now he's fallen behind all the other rookies. The two picks immediately after him were Talisa Fuaga and Brock Bowers, who, like, Fuaga could have stepped inside at guard. He's been one of the best rookies this year. Same thing with Bowers. Like, Latu right after that, Byron Murphy right after that. It's just any of those guys. Falatanu, I know he had some knee issues, but like he could have kicked inside to guard as well.
Yeah.
Quinion Mitchell, Brian Thomas Jr., Terrion Arnold, like all of these guys, I feel like were really highly regarded and have been having good rookie seasons. And the Broncos would have been better off with any of them because I just don't think Bo Nix is it. Xavier Legette, they could have taken him, Matt.
Hey.
Yes, I agree. He caught kind of like a little jump ball last weekend. Went up and got one. I said, "Hold on, buddy. If you start showing a little bit more of that, I think he's actually going to end up being pretty good."
I'm a big Legette fan.
I'm tapping in every week. I think I think through his first 6 games, there's been a lot there. It's more than just flashes. It's like, all right, you can see it start to come together. It's still a work in progress for sure, but I'm happy about it. I'm excited about him.
I think he was worth trading up to get. Like, if you were worried that like the Bills were going to take him, or was it Buffalo who was there?
Right after he went, Keon Coleman went with the very next pick, and then Ladd McConkey went with the very next pick after that. Patriots took Jalen Polk.
A.D. Mitchell went maybe 9 picks later after that or something. It was a run on receivers for sure. And as it stands right now, I don't know if there's any one of those guys where I'd be like, I definitely want him over
definitely
Legette.
Not.
Yeah.
I like what Ladd's been doing this year. He's obviously gotten some work and is finding his role. But I think Legette's showing some real ceiling. Not to turn it into the Legette segment.
No.
I think
go ahead.
is my dog.
We can talk about the Panthers. Do you want to talk about the Panthers?
Not really. Nope. Super soup. I mean, here's the thing. We're talking about the interesting part of the Panthers. It's Legette. Like, that's the thing to watch this year. It is. Yeah. I feel like I kind of know how the offense is. Their offensive line has been like at least healthy. It's been good. It's gotten a little banged up now, but it's been good. And the run game's been good. When Brooks comes back, that'll be interesting. I can give you the take that I would be upset with a Deontay Johnson trade unless he requests one. If he is willing to come back to the Panthers, just bring him back. Just keep the receivers together here because it's starting to pan out now. It's starting to look good. And if you want to bring in a quarterback, like, absolutely. Plus, I have to see the stupid the Dante Jackson. Oh, the passer rating allowed. That's fraudulent somehow. I don't know how yet.
It's not.
No, it is.
Been good.
Well, he wasn't for the Panthers. That's all I know.
That's fine, but
it doesn't count.
This is like Cam Sutton. This is like inverse Cam Sutton. Steelers
it's like some Bill Belichick bullshit.
It's horrible.
With Tomlin is what it is, where it's like they just go there and they maximize dudes. It's like we're just not like that, I guess. Whatever.
Hold on.
I think you guys have maximized Deontay.
Yeah, his stats aren't going to be like so crazy where it's like GG's because at least maybe not right
this.
this.
In Pittsburgh.
Yeah, they're going to be better than that, but he's the first couple of games, and then he's been great though. He's been great. So I'm not really mad at it all that much, honestly. It feels like we gained something. So maybe I would like do like a little handshake emoji on Twitter or something like that. Do you understand? To like farm engagements from like a big fan base, it could work.
Trying to go viral, Matt?
I'm trying to go viral. And then outside of that, I mean, there's people bringing up the Bryce debate again, where they're like, well, at this point, you might as well put in Bryce. It's like, maybe. Like, I don't know, dude. I think it's maybe more of like an end of year type thing rather than something you go back to now. Because what if it's bad again? Do you yank him after one game? Like, probably. So that nonsense I don't even feel like is worth fooling with. But
maybe like final 4 games.
Right. That's what I'm thinking. And if they did like final 6, like, sure, but I want to at least see a little bit more of like Leggett progression, honestly.
Yeah, as long as Leggett is looking good, like keep Dalton in there. Like Bryce was playing so bad it was stunting everybody's growth. When Andy Dalton is throwing to Xavier Leggett, the EPA per target is 0.57. That's a good number to be at. That means you're adding about a half a point to the scoreboard every time he gets targeted. 75% of his receptions have gone for a first down or touchdown. Like, he's been efficient with Andy Dalton as his quarterback. So why would you put the worst guy in there? Like, it's kind of like like I was talking about last week with May versus Brissett. Everybody benefits when the better player is in there, regardless of development or injury risk or whatever other factor you want to say. Like, everything is going to run smoother when the best quarterback is on the field. It does you no good benching your best quarterback. Like, nothing goes better for you if you're not playing the more talented signal caller, because they're the coach on the field, right? Like, they are one of the most important positions in all of sport. They're probably the most important position in the entire sport. So you are losing a lot everywhere. Like, everywhere in the coaching staff, on the defense. Like, I don't care. Your corners are in a worse spot if you're not having the most talented quarterback on the field. All right, your backup defensive lineman is in a worse spot if your worst quarterback is on the field. So if Dalton is better than Bryce, play Dalton. Like, it's that simple. I get developing somebody. I get, like,
it's been too bad. I get the concept. Bryce has just been too bad for it to like work, man. The offense can't do anything. They can't score when Bryce is in. They can't move the ball at all. Everybody else has to like just throw up their hands entirely. And that's how it was the first 2 games. It was worse than how Watson is, easily.
Yep. I don't know.
Yep.
No,
I do. Yep.
I guess I didn't watch, so I won't.
It's about the same.
It was worse.
It's ass versus ass here. Like, it's about the same.
They're putting up those worst success rates, and like through the first 6 weeks, like Bryce's was sub 30%.
Yeah, it's not good.
I mean, it was crazy. I mean, it just, again, like nothing worked. I'm fine with him getting another tryout at the end of the year to see what you've got for 4-6 games, sure. But you got to let the offense try, even if it's not going to lead to wins. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not sitting here saying if it wasn't for Bryce, like, we'd be in a good, like, we wouldn't. The defense is horrifically gouge your eyes out bad, But,
dude,
yeah.
Yeah, I don't have too much to say about that game yet. Keep an eye on TikTok. I'll talk about the Falcons at some point there.
Yeah.
I
got to. I don't want to talk about the Browns, but
I do.
You want to talk about the Browns?
Mm-hmm.
I was going to ask because we talked about the Eagles a while back and how they could be a tier 1 team. They could be, one of the top teams in the NFC, and they still just look a little bit underwhelming.
Yes, they do. I watched this game in preparation for the episode, and so I've got some Browns and Eagles takes. For the Eagles, there's a couple things. So, like, against the Buccaneers, I feel like everybody is holding that game against the Eagles in a big way. And, like, Lane Johnson, A.J. Brown, and Devontae Smith were out. I really, there's been so much panic about the Eagles.
The Eagles are better than that game, definitely.
And this game and recently, and I really think, like, they're 4-2. They're getting some guys back healthy finally. I thought they played fine versus the Browns. Like, it was not a very good game from them, but also like the level of like, this is the worst win ever. Like, they won, but I feel so bad about them. Like, when I watched it, I was like, okay, they played like a very average game versus Cleveland. AJ Brown dominated, which you like to see. I think when it comes to the Eagles, the thing that concerns me the most about them is just their offensive line. Like, that is the thing that seems like sustainably bad. I think Jalen Hurts is going to play better the next 2/3 of the season than he did in the first third of the season. I think the receiver room is going to be healthier these next 2/3 of the season than it was the first third of the season. The offensive line, I don't know about, man. Like, losing Kelsey and going from him to Juergens was a huge loss. Juergens has not played very well, and next to him, it's Mekhi Becton. The two of them, I looked it up on Sports Info Solutions. On runs to the middle or the inside right, their stuff rate at the line of scrimmage is 40%. All right, so when they're running to that area, that's the Kelsey zone. When they're running to that area of the field, like, it's probably going to get met in the backfield or at the line of scrimmage.
Wow.
With Kelsey, runs to that area of the field were at 17% in 2022 and 22% in 2023. So there's a whole zone of the offensive line that they like just can't run to anymore.
It's literally twice as bad.
Yeah, they've allowed more stuffs on those kind of inside zone plays to that area already this year than they ever did with Kelsey, like the entire last 2 seasons in each of them. So the fact that there's like these inside zone play, and they run nothing but shotgun still. So inside zone is going to be primarily what you're going to be doing as opposed to the wide zone stuff, just because of where the running back is aligned. So the fact that like one side of their line, it's very hard to run inside zone at 2. It's a real, like, that to me is what worries me. They've been fine against the blitz even. Like, I think Jalen Hurts is doing a good job, like, setting the protection and getting, they're not nearly as bad this year as they were the last stretch of last year. Like, I really think they've fixed some things. But and now Malata is out, and like Fred Johnson is going to be taking over the left side. Like, this running game with Hurts and Barkley doesn't look anything like the Ravens with Lamar and Henry.
Yeah.
And I feel like that has to do with the offensive line talent and some of the play calling as well. And the fact they're in 12 personnel without blocking tight. They're in 12 personnel constantly this year. Their tight ends can't block, and they're not running play action. Like,
There's one bodies out there, man.
Bad ones. Like, so, the Eagles, there are some concerning things with them, but at the same time, I'm not like, well, it's over. Like, Sirianni and Hurts are the most overrated players ever, like, or overrated people ever. Like, maybe Sirianni is.
Sirianni might be.
I don't think Hurts is.
No, I agree with you on Hurts, though. He will be playing better. For him to be without his top 2 receiving weapons for a couple of, like, I mean, no one's gonna succeed with. I mean, their receiving room was then what? Jahan Dotson and...
Let's talk about that trade, man. Holy cow. They gave up Davante Adams money or picks for Jahan Dotson, and he can't even see the field. They're playing 12 personnel. They're putting Grant Calcaterra in the...
Maybe that's the more concerning thing, is that they would rather be in 12 personnel than put Jahan Dotson on the field.
Yeah,
because without AJ Brown and Devonta Smith, the receivers are Jahan Dotson, Johnny Wilson, and Paris Campbell. That's it.
And they're on the field a lot, like, this year. It's Howie Roseman. Well, what happened?
I don't know what to tell you about the Dotson trade. It's like, I mean, they gave up a third. No, I'm not mistaken about that, correct? Yeah, how ridiculous was that? He was a first-round pick, and Washington was like, we want to trade him away after 2 years. That right there is like the flashing red bulb. But here's the thing. Usually when these trades happen, it's like a 6th or a 7th, and it's like, all right, fine. They gave up a day 2 pick to make this type of move. Like, it just completely bizarre, man. To not trust Washington enough to, like, evaluate their own guy at all, considering the production also wasn't good last year or anything. It's just a crazy move. I think Roseman sometimes can get a little bit too much hate online because like it's the counter to him getting too much love. But like there's definitely some truth to it. Like sometimes is it just names, you know? Is it just like whoever is like falling in the draft on the consensus board, which isn't necessarily always a bad strategy, but you know what I mean? Yeah.
Howie Roseman and Andrew Berry both get like they're both kind of polarizing GMs right now.
Is Barry polarizing, or does everybody agree he's ass?
People still love Barry. There are people that still love Barry. I promise you they exist. But he has some absolute whiffs in the draft, man.
He's got one absolute whiff.
I don't know what he's done well recently. Their offensive line has deteriorated.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess he put together a good defense last year with some of the free agent signings, getting like Tomlinson and Okoronkwo.
That's the thing that people still give him credit for. They're like, he built out such a great defense, but I'm like, how much of that is him?
It lasted 1 year. It lasted 1 year, and now all those players are washed.
Right.
I mean,
now the defense is bad.
I let that thought creep into my mind. I mean, Myles Garrett's just cool in Cleveland. Is that how that's going down for him?
Yeah, he's a pack. Lucas Van Ness and a first Blaiden.
Stop. You don't.
What do you mean?
I would not. If the Browns were to trade, I've heard talks of trading Garrett. I've heard talks of trading Denzel Ward. I've heard
him too. He did 2 firsts.
They're like, just clean house, man. Just like scrap it all for picks. I'm like, dude, if we just get rid of the one guy, there's one guy that needs to go. Just get rid of him and everything will be okay.
Now, hold on.
Everything will be okay.
I'm pro start Winston. Don't get it twisted.
Yeah.
I think they'd have like a fun win or two under their belt with Winston. I'm confident in it. Starting Jameis Winston is not fixing all of the Cleveland Browns' problems.
Not all of them.
I'm very confident in that. Starting Jameis Winston is not making the Cleveland Browns good.
No, I mean they have other problems other than Watson. The offensive line being as banged up as it is. That another trade proposition I've seen is Bitonio.
Deshaun Watson blocked me on Twitter. I'm just realizing this.
He blocked you on Twitter?
Yeah, I'm blocked.
Real.
That's okay. Anyway,
well, Elon Musk is changing that. You'll be able to see Deshaun Watson post in no time.
What?
The block is changing on Twitter.
Elon Musk is blocked by me, so maybe he wants to see my posts.
He wants to be unblocked by Theo.
Luckily, I'm
muted.
a big.
The word Elon and anything associated with him is not crossing this guy's tongue.
That's so real. But yeah, the Browns' offensive line is in complete shambles right now, and I don't think that's like the fault of necessarily drafting as much as like guys just got hurt. Like again, we've talked about this before. We've had instances where it's been Jack Conklin or not Jack. It's been like DeJuan Jones, Zach Zinter, Ethan Pochik, Bitonio, and then like James Hudson. Now, right now it's Jed Wills, but dude, I mean, our entire slew of left tackles are hurt, except for Wills right now, and Wills is like questionable. So like, there's a world where the offensive line is Conklin, Jones, Bitonio, Pochik, and currently Michael Dunn, I guess, is starting at guard. But like, it's just like we talk about. Like wanting to have congruency on your offensive line. The Browns have none right now. It's just like a different rotation of guys every single week because someone's always hurt. Not on top of the fact that your quarterback is taking the most sacks ever. Yeah. On top of the fact that your receivers haven't been playing particularly well. If there's one main criticism I would have of Andrew Berry, it's like the lack of receiving talent is jarring. Especially
what the hell are you talking about, man?
I can think of one other big deal.
I can think of one big. Well, first off, I can think of another big mistake Andrew Berry possibly could have made. Second off, first thing I thought when Amari Cooper got traded Tillman's finally won the inner locker room politic battle.
Bang! Let's go.
Let's.
There is only one player on the Cleveland Browns that has more than one touchdown this year.
Rodney McLeod.
Rodney McLeod.
The safety. Yeah, not good. Not good.
Do we want to get to the locks?
Yeah, let's do the locks.
Yes, stay hot locks. All right. We all hit on our locks this past week. I'm very proud of us. And I was just going to go over the locks real quick, but I couldn't find them. Okay, so last week, I locked the Eagles and Lions. Those teams won. Theo, you locked the Ravens and Steelers. Those teams won. Matt, you locked the Texans and the Falcons. Those teams won. So that puts us currently, I think I still have the lead, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe it's 5-4 to like 3.
It's 5-4 to 3. So I have 5, Theo, you have 4, Matt, you have 3. I guess I go first then?
Do it.
Or I get like the first choice of picks. And I guess I will go first. I feel like that's usually the best thing to do. I'm thinking about locking the Browns again. It just always feels like or locking against the Browns.
Oh.
Yeah, surely they'll win. I'm going to that game, and I don't know. But I think my initial thought is probably to lock against the Panthers, and I'll take the Commanders and how good their offense has been over the Panthers defense for now.
Sounds good.
What the fuck are you talking about, man? Theo, you want the pick, or you want to give it to dear old?
I'll say because I kind of want to lock the Bills over the Titans.
That would have been my next one.
But you can go next, Matt.
Well, I guess that leaves me with the Bengals over the Browns.
All right, man.
And then I've got the turn. And if I'm playing the spread, which I almost always try to do because, I don't try to outsmart Vegas, it's saying I should go Rams over Raiders. But it's a 6.5 point spread, which seems that seems like a lot, dude. Like, not that I'm in love with the Raiders, but like the Rams, really? I think their defense has been like dead last this year, basically.
I know it has because the Bears have played the 3 worst defenses in the league the past 3 weeks. The Panthers, the Jaguars, and the Rams are legitimately your bottom 3, and I know that's who they've played. As a Packer fan, this is the kinds of stats I know off the top of my head.
We're slowly going to see you shift from like pro Caleb Williams to anti Caleb Williams.
Bears fans would tell you that it's already happened, that I'm scared to talk about him, that like I don't want to say anything nice, even though like I'm pretty sure that like I don't think I've ever been scared to talk about Caleb Williams. And
you're scared to talk about Caleb, and you're also scared to talk about Daniels.
Even though I uploaded like 2 video, like three weeks in a row, I uploaded game reviews of Jaden Daniels.
You're scared to say nice things about Daniels.
And then I think 4 weeks ago, I talked about how Caleb was turning the season around versus the Colts and how good of a quick game thrower he was, which is what he's been doing these last 3 weeks. I figured don't really need an update, but I guess so. Anyway, it's not my gripes with my comments section.
Dude, like the other big spread is Jacksonville over New England.
Yeah, please take Jacksonville so I can challenge you.
I was going to challenge if you...
Shit, yeah, that's right.
I don't feel confident enough to lock the Patriots, but I will challenge if...
Yeah.
if you pick...
Look, here's the thing. It's like, I know it is wrong. Someone made a good point to me in the Discord the other day. I know it's wrong now to go with 1. You should never do it. Statistically, you should always pick 2, at least.
You think?
Yeah. That's hard to explain a little bit.
Oh, okay. It's hard to explain. Never mind then.
You're always adding points if you have a better than 50% chance after 1, basically. But
Theo vindicated.
Well, taking 2 and taking 18 are very different.
That's very true. All right, I'll tell you what. I'll just go with Baltimore over Tampa Bay.
This is not a bad take.
Yeah, I'll just go with Baltimore because they're cooking right now. No disrespect Tampa Bay, but like it's that or I have to pick a team that legitimately has one win. Like those are my options. So I'm going Baltimore.
I'll take the Rams over the Raiders then. I know it's a little bit risky with how bad the Rams are, but Vegas is probably overreacting to Davante getting traded considering they haven't had him the last 2 weeks, but I don't know. Mr. Stafford, take us home basically is just what I'm thinking. I think it can work. And then I'll go with
you don't have the swing.
Oh right, yeah, I don't have the swing. What do you want, Blaiden?
Shoot, man. You know what? It's such a risky play. I'm going to lock the Patriots over the Jags. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it, man. Like,
I'm gonna challenge you just because it's a good opportunity.
Okay.
It's an opportunity to get 2 points.
I think that's a good
to
challenge by you. I think that's a good challenge.
If someone's gonna do it, I'll challenge you with the Jaguars. That's disgusting work, but one of us is gonna be right, and I can get the double points.
Well, and if that hits, you get double points. So you would get 4 points this week if all of your locks hit. Now, what's gonna happen is the Jags are gonna win, and then the Rams are gonna lose, and your challenge will mean nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what's gonna happen.
And I think that's all I'll do. I thought about Colts over Dolphins, but I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, I'm not doing anything else.
I'm going to stick. I'm going to stick with what I got. It's already rough enough with the Jaguars and the Rams, so we'll see how it goes.
All right, Matt. Are you have any others?
I'm out.
He's out.
Hey, you guys are nuts. So you locked the Patriots, bro.
Dude, hey, you said that statistically I have to pick 2. So I'm just following the data.
Yeah, but you picked like a 5-point dog.
Okay, so what else am I supposed to pick? The Chiefs? Come on, man.
Like, yeah, I'd rather. Well, the Niners are the favorite there. I think the logic of you need to pick 2 only makes sense if you're picking teams that like on average have a better than 50% shot.
Well,
What's
that's
life without
Vegas doesn't know about Drake May. That's the difference.
I agree.
You know?
They should. I'm taking the Patriots spread this week. I don't know about money line, but we're locking it. But
cover the spread. Yeah, I mean to cover 5.5 points. Yeah, man.
They don't know about that. He got to read number 5 in the third quarter down. They didn't see him step up and slide in the pocket like I did.
So true, man. But that doesn't.
Him and Lawrence is a not his fault off. They're like,
Yeah, no kidding, man.
We need Herbert to like come in at halftime, and Herbert's the halftime show.
Your mystery.
I'm trying to figure out I'm trying to figure out an angle where I can like not give a fuck about the drops that Trevor Lawrence has to deal with. Do you know what I'm talking about? Where I'm like, I really don't care about those at all. I see that stat like every 2 weeks where it's like, here's some like pitiful drop from Christian Kirk or whoever. I'm trying to figure out the angle where it's somehow still on Lawrence, but
there's the TikTok take that he throws too hard, which I don't really buy into. I don't really buy into that one.
Look, they get all new receivers. It's still a problem.
Gabe Davis. I mean, it's very. You can contend with the Gabe Davis's elite shtick that you do.
Hey, 2 tutties last game.
That's true. That's true.
Lawrence is throwing it too hard for Gabe Davis.
Why Lawrence?
Justin Herbert used to throw it too hard for Keenan Allen. That's why he left.
Very
true. I guess so.
But that does it for the Stay Hot locks. I'm taking the Commanders and the Patriots. Theo's taking the Bills, the Rams, the Jaguars, which is a challenge against my Patriots pick. And Matt is taking the Bengals and the Ravens. We'll see who comes out on top. Thank you all so much for tuning into another. Thank you all so much for tuning into another episode of Stay Hot. And until next time, we will catch you on the flippity flop.